Okay, today we're going to talk about writing linear equations. Okay, so after this lesson, you guys should be able to write a linear equation given a graph. Write a linear equation giving a slope and a point that it passes through. Given a slope and y-intercept, two points that it passes through. An equation parallel to the line and passes through a point, and perpendicular to a line that passes through a point. So all these things are things that you should be able to do after this lesson. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is write the equation of a line that is graphed below in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form means that if I can get the slope and the y-intercept, I'm golden. Well, I can see the y-intercept right here. That's the point where the graph actually crosses the y-intercept, or the y-axis. And so the y-intercept is 0, 4. Now, if I couldn't see the y-intercept, I could go ahead and pick another point, because I would probably use point slope form by then. But now that I can see it, I'm just going to use slope-intercept form. I'm going to take my pencil and go along the line, and I'm looking for really nice points. And I see a really nice point right here, and I'm looking for where the lines meet. This is a nice point because of where the lines meet. So that's what I'm looking for. So now that I have this point, which is 2, 8, right? And I have this point, which is 0, 4. I'm going to be able to get the slope. Now, I don't really have to use the formula because I can actually walk it out. But I always go from left to right. And you can see that this is an increasing function, so it's going to be positive. Okay, so now let's see here. We're going to go up 2, 4. So up 4, positive 4, and over 2. So this is going to be 4 over 2, or 2. So for slope-intercept form, all we really need is the slope and the y-intercept. So we're pretty excited because we have the slope, which is 2, and we have the y-intercept, which is a positive 4. And so here's our equation in slope-intercept form. If we needed to form a different form, we could go ahead and manipulate this afterwards. Write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form. Okay, so we're doing the same form. So it'd be really cool if we had the slope and y-intercept. Well, guess what? They gave us a slope and they gave us a point. This is not the y-intercept. So right now I have the slope, but I don't have the y-intercept. So basically I'd be left hanging, right? Because I have the slope of 5. Well, maybe we need to start at a different form and then transport it to this form. So this form is when y is alone. But we have another form which is point slope form, which is y equals the slope x, okay? And so our slope, we already said, was 5. And then we're going to use our point. Well, if this is 4, then this is the opposite of 4. And if this is a negative 2, then this is the opposite of a negative 2, which is a positive 2. So this is point slope form, just a little reminder. Point slope form. Okay, but we need slope-intercept form, which is y alone. So let's go ahead and manipulate it a little using algebra. Almost there. We need to get that y alone. So subtract 2, and we get y equals 5x minus 22. And so now we can it's the same as just putting a negative 22 in here. And we're done. And it doesn't matter if we're there or here. Okay, cool. So if I have a point and a slope, I can put it in a point slope form first and then manipulate it. All right, next one. Write an equation in point slope form. Well, it says it right there. I need the point and I need a slope. So I need to go ahead and start my point slope form, y, and then my m, and then my x. So I have 2 points. And whenever we have 2 points, we need to think slope. So whenever I have 2 points, I need to think slope, because that's what I do when I have 2 points, is find the slope. I'm going to take this orange point, and I'm going to put the y on the top and the x on the bottom. And then I'm going to take this pink point, and I'm going to put the y on the top and the x on the bottom. Add the opposite, and so I'm going to end up to get a -4 over 2, which is -2. Well, that means my slope is -2. Now, the interesting thing is I could either use my orange point or use my pink point, and I will be correct. I'm going to go ahead and use my orange point. So if my x is 9, this will be the opposite of 9. If my y is 4, this will be the opposite of 4. And so I am finished with my slope, or my point slope form. Write an equation in standard form. Now, standard form doesn't really have anything that helps it put together. So we are either going to start in slope intercept point or form or point slope form, and we get to decide, and then we're going to manipulate it. So what do we have? We have 2 points. We'll get what? Guess what I said? 2 points, think slope. So we're going to go ahead and find the slope. We're going to go ahead and find the slope. And so here's our orange point, y on the top. And here's our pink point, y on the top, x on the bottom. And we're going to add the opposite, and we're going to get our slope is equal to a 12 over 3, which is 4. Okay, well, we have our slope. Because we have points, I'm going to go ahead and use point slope form. So y equals our slope, which was 4, and then x. And we can either use pink or orange, since we used, what did we use last? Okay, we used orange last, so let's use pink. So if my x is -5, then I put my opposite of x here, which is +5. If my x, oh, you know what I just did, which was a boo-boo? This isn't 12, guys. 3 plus 4 is 7. So that is a big boo-boo. This is 7/3, not 4. I wanted to make this a fraction so that I could show you how to do fractions, and then I just went right over my mistake. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we have the opposite of x. Now we're going to do the opposite of y. So our y is -3, so we put a +3 there. Okay, cool. So we want standard form, right? In standard form, just a little reminder, we need x and y alone. We need our a, b, and c all no fractions, no decimals, and we want our a to be positive. Okay, so, well, guess what? So actually, we don't even have to say alone. Let's say on the same side. On same side. Okay, well, first of all, we don't want fractions anyways. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 3 terms, this, and this is together because they're touching right here. So they're the same exact term. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by 3 because 3 is what's in the denominator. And so when we multiply by 3, this goes away. Okay, so we're going to be left with 3y plus 9 equals 7 times x plus 5. Okay, that's great. We have no fractions or decimals, and we are ready to rock. We're going to use our algebra, our distributive property. Equals 3y plus 9. And we're going to get our x and y on the same side. But we're also going to put our constant on the other side. Okay, so this is -7x plus 3y is equal to 26. Well, we want a to be positive. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply everything. We're going to do the opposite of every single term. So we're going to multiply everything by -1, making it opposite. So 7x minus 3y equals -26. And this is our standard form, guys. And again, it wouldn't have mattered if we would have used pink or orange. Okay. But it would have mattered if I would have made a mistake on my slope. So always check your slope. Okay. All right. Let's go to our next thing that we're going to talk about, parallel lines and perpendicular lines. This should be review. Parallel lines have the same slope, and perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So we need to know that. So when we do when we're trying to find a line that is either parallel or perpendicular, and that goes through a point, the only thing we're going to use from the equation itself is our slope. And we're either going to use the same slope, or we're going to use the opposite reciprocal slope. Okay, so let's go through our steps. Write an equation in point slope form. So at the end of the day, I need point slope form. That's super important. Okay, but what we are is we're going to be parallel to this. Okay, we're parallel to this, and we go through this point. Okay, so what do we have? Identify the slope of the original line. So the slope of the original, slope, because this is y equals mx plus b, is 1/2. Okay, so we identified the slope of the original line. Now we're going to determine the slope of a new line. So because it said parallel, we're going to use the same slope for this one. So our new slope is the same, which means it's just 1/2. And then we're going to use our slope and the given point, okay, which is our point. Oops, let's use green. Which is 3, -4. Okay, these are the pieces of information that we are going to use to do point slope form. So we have y, x, see how all this is the same? We're going to take our slope and put it where our slope should be. We're going to look at our point. This is a +3, so we'll put a -3 because it's the opposite of that value. And this is a -4, so we'll put a +4. And there we go. This is point slope form. Okay, cool. So now we're going to go through these steps, right? We're going to rearrange if we needed to, but we didn't need to because we actually put it into point slope form, right? So the last step was just rearrange if necessary. We didn't have to do, okay? All right, so let's look at our next one. So we know that we are going to first identify the slope of the original function. Well, here's the original function. Not really that easy to identify the slope. Now, for those of you who like shortcuts, if you have a standard form, your slope is actually the opposite of A over B. Now, that's a shortcut. It's because if I subtracted AX on both sides, let's move this down a little bit. Ooh, it's not moving. There it goes. If I subtracted AX on both sides, I would get BY is equal to -AX plus C. And then I would have to divide every term by B. And you can see that when y is alone, you'll have the opposite of A over B. And that's why the slope, if you want a shortcut, if it's in standard form, is the opposite of A over B. Now, we could use that and say that the original slope is the opposite of A over B, which is 3, okay? Or we could have, on a side note, so we could have used our shortcut, or we could have taken 6x minus 2y equals 8, and we put it in a slope-intercept form. But you can see how we're just doing the same thing that we just talked about, and dividing by -2. So y is equal to 3x minus 4. So you can see the same slope, we would get the same exact slope. So it doesn't matter which one you want to do. If it's hard to remember another thing, then don't remember another thing. So there's our original slope. Now we have to decide what our new slope is going to be. Our new slope is perpendicular. So for perpendicular, we are going to, let's erase this real quick. So we've already identified the slope of the original line. Now we're going to determine what the new slope is going to be. Well, we need the opposite reciprocal, and the reciprocal is just flipping it over, okay? So since we started with a +3, the opposite reciprocal is going to be a negative, and then we're going to flip it over. Well, 3 is 3 over 1. So when I flip this over, it becomes 1 over 3. So that's our new slope. And then we have our point, which is still, let's write point. That's kind of messy, but whatever. Is 4, 6. And we're ready to put it into point slope form. Now, there are other ways to make this a little bit shorter, but I'm going to show you this way. So we're going to now put it into point slope form because we have a point and we have the slope. So we go ahead and put our slope in, and then we're going to do the opposite of our x and the opposite of our y. And there's our point slope form. Remember, we can actually just distribute this negative 1/3, but we don't really like fractions that much. And if you don't like fractions that much, we're going to go ahead and worry about that later. And so we'll multiply everything by 3 because there's a 3 on the bottom here. That gets rid of our fraction. So now we're going to end up with, let's use purple, 3y minus 18 is equal to negative 1 times x minus 4. Well, this is cool because now all I have to do is get y alone. So distribute the negative. Negative x plus 4 is equal to 3y minus 18. Okay, that's great. I'm running out of room. I'm going to go ahead and just keep going though. So add 18. I need y alone. I'm going to get 3y is equal to negative x plus 22. And then I'm going to divide each term by 3. And this is going to show you that our fraction is back, but it's okay because I don't have to manipulate it anymore. Remember that negative x over 3 is the same as negative 1x over 3, which is the same as negative 1/3 times x. This is a big one, you guys. I want you to remember that, okay? And so now we're going to take this and we get plus 22 over 3. And there is our slope-intercept form. Woo! Great job, you guys. I hope all of this helped.